Welcome to another episode of the Perspectives Podcast. My name is Ashley, and I'm going to be your host. Well, everybody, I wanted to make this episode because, boy, am I going through something right now. It's really an interesting time right now with all of this energy that's flowing around us, all of this change. And just like with anything dealing with change, sometimes it can feel really fucking uncomfortable. So here we are, sitting in this vat of endless possibilities. So what's going on? Well, I'll tell you. It honestly kind of started, I don't know, maybe December, January, something like that. I got word of this one group that I follow and have been practicing with, that they were going to have a retreat in Egypt. And after looking through the brochure, everything just looks so cool and my heart just lit up. I'm like, this would be amazing. But you kind of put it on the back burner because, well, it's in Egypt. That feels kind of out of reach for me. Plus, there's a lot of financial things going on. Plus, really what I'm getting at is there's a lot of story behind why this couldn't happen. So again, put it on the back burner, walk away from it. And then I'd say in the month of February, we're now in the beginning of March, but is when it really started to show up in my life. Synchronicity was it was happening everywhere. Things that you see every day now are popping up with signs for Egypt, whether it's the literal word or seeing pyramids, or heck, in the last 2 weeks, I think I've talked to about 7 different Egyptians. I've never met an Egyptian in my life. And now here I am talking to 7 different ones at different times. So it's like all of these signs, and I just giggle when I see them now. But then I would say here in the last week, it's time to shit or get off the pot. The trip is in less than a month, and if I am to do this, I need to tell them yes, buy the tickets, and do the thing. From a calm state, I feel excited. I feel, how do I explain it? There's some fear, there's some uncertainty, but there's excitement, especially around all of these synchronicities, all of these signs. It feels like a breadcrumb trail, a breadcrumb trail of magical breadcrumbs. And they're all laid out for me, and I get to go and pick them up and eat them as I walk. But if you've seen any of my YouTube videos recently, there's been so much energy just flowing in the universe, but also through me. And it feels great because it feels like something is changing. And for any of you that know me or know my story, I've kind of felt very stagnant here lately. I returned back I'm living with my parents right now. But even before that, when I was living in Mexico, I felt lost. I felt like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing something to do something. And so it'll have to be a story for another day, but coming back here basically forced me into this state of rest, I'll call it. But it felt so stagnant and so heavy. And I felt like running so many times and leaving because it just felt terrible to be here, but terrible to not be doing anything and sitting in the place where, I don't know, in some ways you're kind of judged for that. Or at least that's what I've always felt. So either way, now the energy has been shifting and it feels so good. I'm creating things that honestly, if you've listened to any of my other videos, or I guess watch them and listen to any of my other podcasts, it's like I've always been this creator. It's always been within me, but I've just never seen it as such. So now it's like flowing through me in droves, to the point where I'm just exhausted and still pushing myself. So I'm sure I'll be making an episode at some point about burnout. But it feels so good to be moving on things, to finally the things that you felt were important before, but just either didn't have the energy. It just wasn't time to go on it, whether you knew it or not. But now it feels like it is. Now I got the green light to go. But alongside of that is this trip to Egypt. And like I said, from a calm state, I'm excited for the mystery, for the breadcrumbs. A different path of breadcrumbs. I'm working on so many paths of breadcrumbs right now, which all can coincide. But this one feels daunting. So with all of that high, creative, authentic energy running through me, I can feel these layers of fear, uncertainty, insecurity, doubt starting to come to the surface, is what I'm getting, to be skimmed off. The layers are loosening for me to remove. But it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. If you listen to I can't remember if it was my podcast or my video, this stuff, these uncomfortable feelings, these insecurities, for me, for example, but take it as it resonates for you, but all of these patterns are maybe not the patterns so much, but the things that keep you stuck. So for me, this fear, this insecurity, this uncomfortable feeling of not knowing what the future holds. I can't control it. These are the things that keep you from doing anything, keep you from moving forward. And that's because you don't want to feel them. No person wants to sit in their own pile of uncomfortability and fear and just live in it all the time. No, that's not a way to do that. And so you pull away. You do things that are well within your comfort zone, well within your realms of possibility, so you don't have to experience these uncomfortable feelings. And I totally understand that, and I totally respect that. So I guess my inquiry today is, how do you move through from a safe space, maybe, is what I'm wondering. How do you, I keep saying it, if you've listened to I should put that as a disclaimer at the beginning. In a previous episode of, I think, one of my videos, I was talking about being excellent, being professional, if you will, at the art of pushing myself through discomfort, through an unregulated nervous system, that I tell myself it's good for you, or this is how you're going to progress. And, it's almost like that parent type energy of like, you're going to do it and you're going to like it kind of thing. And I don't want to do that anymore to myself. I don't want to parent myself like that. But on the other hand, it is recognizing that I'm not saying whether or not this will be better for me. Who's to say? Who's to say what path? If you choose path A, who's to say that, missing out on path B wasn't already better for you? But it's also like, I don't want to parent myself that way anymore. I don't want to force myself to do things that there is so much resistance in my body. But on the other hand, it's seeing this resistance as a potential for growth, essentially. And so I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. And I think right now what I'm playing with is, one, like I said before, recognizing that this can be and probably is energy, stagnant energy, energy that if you've listened to any of my other videos and podcasts, energy that I've described as stuff you put away in boxes and tape up with duct tape so that you never look at it again. All of those uncomfortable insecurities and fears that if I just don't do this, I won't have to feel that. If I don't sing in front of people, I won't have to feel that fear and, discomfort. And if I don't do this, I'll never have to feel that. And that's how a lot of people live their life. So I think what I'm playing with right now is how to get myself back into a regulated nervous system to allow all of this uncomfortable energy to just come up and be felt and be witnessed, because it's been sitting in those boxes for a very, very, very long time, and sitting up on the attic of my being, if you will, and somehow one toppled over and is opening up. Something, all this energy around, all this beautiful, wonderful, creative, authentic energy, high vibrational energy, was like an earthquake and knocked over some of these boxes, and the contents now spilt out. And it's uncomfortable to have to sort through and see if I can rebox some of it or just donate it, get rid of it. And I think how this morning was already going was me trying to rebox it, trying to get it back in because it's uncomfortable. So what can I do to, understand it, move through it? And by move through it, I mean just kind of like ignore it and just chalk it up to whatever. But I want to heal this. And maybe it won't be healed today, but I want to get some perspective. I want to start healing this, because it's not just Egypt. Every pattern is just that. It's something that is, it keeps coming back. It keeps being reused. It's something that is ingrained within you until you don't need it anymore, until it doesn't serve anymore. So what is this pattern serving? It's not just Egypt. This fear, this insecurity around, the sense that comes up within me is that I don't know what I'm doing. And that's not an easy feeling to have when you're somebody who, has always put themselves out there as somebody who is super capable and super self-assured. I was a physician assistant for a while, and I lived in my car for a while, and I was a rock climber, and I was, like all of these things that require a level of proficiency in order to continue on. And although that's probably a podcast for another day on the trauma of how you develop into a person such as that and attract things in your life where you can continue to run that story of proficiency. I also want to heal this and find that peace within me that feels inadequate, and sit with her and feels scared because she doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't know how it's going to turn out. She can't plan for this. She can't control for this. She can't study for this. She can't practice this to the point of proficiency. So there's a lot of insecurity. And I think that gives you like this, I'll call it a sour taste in your mouth, but it's like I said, there's this level of dysregulation in my nervous system, feeling unsafe, and not so much physically unsafe, but I think it's more so mentally unsafe, that and it's not just Egypt, I'm obviously realizing. It's everything. You're struggling to plan what's next because you don't know. And yes, I could sit here and do the same thing over and over and pick the path that I understand and is digestible and something that I've done over and over and over. But I think what it's asking me is to be brave and take a step in a direction that you have no effing clue where it's going to come out and if it's going to come out. How long are you going to be in the woods? How long are you going to be lost in the woods? And it's not even so much lost in the woods. I feel like I'm on a path, but it's dark and I only have a lantern, so I can only see a step in front of me. And so my mind is panicking that, well, obviously up ahead there's going to be bears and creatures of the night. And it's panicking. It doesn't want to take another step because it knows it's safe right here. So we're not gonna move forward because I don't know what's ahead. But I think real bravery, real courage is being fucking scared and still taking a step, even just kind of shuffling. But taking that step, and I guess that's kind of where I'm at right now. I guess part of me was hoping that this episode would come to this conclusion of like, and that's the pattern, ladies and gentlemen. I'll talk to you in the next episode. However, I think it's also recognizing that this too is a practice. Being scared and being unsure, sitting in that uncertainty and not trying to sprint your way out, to get to the point where you understand what's happening, or staying still because you understand what's happening right here in that moment, standing still. Like, you don't know what's out ahead of you. So I think it's a practice as well. Being fearless is a practice. And having courage, being brave, it probably takes more of it to face the things that you find uncomfortable and not trying to run away from it than it does to figure your way out, to understand it, I'm sure there's a place for both, obviously, but it's like in some ways, maybe this is the work right now, is taking a breath and, I don't know, in some ways, trying to regulate yourself to this new way of being. Yeah, I don't know. I was hoping for more of a concise message than that, but, I think this is one small step at a time, one small regulated present step, because it's so easy this day and age to distract ourselves from what we find uncomfortable, from, I don't want to call them our shortcomings. Really, it's probably our greatest sources of growth and understanding is in the things that we most try to distract from. And so small present steps. Keep coming back to yourself. Keep coming back to the uncomfortable at hand, the thing that you don't want to sit with. Keep reminding yourself until finally you just want to, I get this image of like a thorn in your hand or something. It's like you're not going to pull it out until it really freaking bothers you. And the same thing, if you keep distracting from it, the thorn and whatever else that we're talking about here, But it's like if you keep distracting from it, you'll never actually pull it out and allow it to heal. And so by being present, I even said this yesterday in a video I made, but it's like by being present, but also by really sitting with these things, allowing them to come up so you can actually heal them. You know, what does it look like to, play a scenario in your head where you are the most, and for me, for example, you are the most insecure person, all the things that you're afraid of, that whatever, that this person's going to judge you, that you are actually insecure and weak, and like all the things you try to avoid being seen as. Play maybe these scenarios in your mind and really feel them, and really feel that insecurity that you've been trying to not feel, that you've been trying to hide away from, all the things that you're trying to hide away from, and sit there and feel it. Body image stuff, feeling weak, feeling, I get the word gender, so feeling too, I think for me it's like, I was always conditioned that, females are super weak, and so you're always trying to be the tough, independent type, and it's like, what are you running away from? And the same thing, I'm sure on the masculine side, and it's like, what are you trying to run away from? And I say gender because the word came up, but take it as it resonates. What are you running away from? What are you trying to avoid feeling? And maybe you don't know, but I'm sure it's right there in front of you if you would sit with it and look. So either way, I'm going to call this. And yeah, I think allow this to come up. Allow this insecurity. Because I feel like if I can heal it for me, maybe I can help heal it for others too. All right, guys. Yeah, I'm going to call it. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening today. And yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it, guys. One step at a time. All right. I will see yous.